Alex Bregman has signed with the Boston Red Sox. That is a factual statement. So if you guys want to hear more about this factual statement, stick around this video because this is a wild contract. $120 million over 3 years with a bunch of deferrals attached to it. This changes everything for the Red Sox, and there's just so much to discuss. So thanks for clicking on the link to this one. Let's get into all of this. So Jesse Rogers of ESPN was the first person to confirm that Alex Bregman had signed with the Red Sox. Jeff Passan reposted this tweet very shortly afterwards, and basically the media went crazy about it. Now this deal is very, very interesting from a financial standpoint for the Red Sox and for Alex Bregman, in my opinion. So with it being 3 years, $120 million, obviously that's a $40 million AAV salary, and it's got these two opt-outs attached to it. So basically Bregman has like a lot of control in this, and if he comes out and he puts up, a huge season next year, he might just opt out and go back onto the free agent market, which that might not be bad for the Red Sox or Alex Bregman in that situation. But at least at face value here, 3 years, $120 million. That's the term that the Red Sox were wanting. They did not want like a 6-year deal when it came to Alex Bregman, because the guy's 31 right now, so he's still got some prime years left. He's still going to be a really good player. If you look at his stats right here, he's put up 4 WAR the last 3 years. He's got some, peak years in here as well. But basically, any time that he's been healthy and on the field, he's like a 4 WAR kind of guy player, which is a very, very good all-star caliber type player. He hasn't made an all-star team since 2019, but he could have the last 3 years, and it wouldn't have been that crazy. He is a very, very good defensive third baseman, and all across the infield, he can play very well. So he's going to be playing second base primarily for the Red Sox, although it wouldn't surprise me if he did play some third base and kind of transition endeavors into that. But that's a different conversation that we'll get into later. Now, as per the deal, when it came to Alex Bregman's side of this, the $40 million AAV, that is very good. And I don't think anybody else was really close to it. I don't have the deals right in front of me, but I know the Tigers weren't on it. They were offering like a 6-year deal for like $170 million. The Astros had like the $150 million, $156 million over 6 year on the table. And then the Cubs and the Blue Jays also made offers, but they were like 3 or 4 years for like $100 million, or they're a little bit less. I think it was 4 years for the Cubs, $120 million. So in the end, the Red Sox offered the most money for the shortest amount of term. And this still gives Bregman the opportunity to go back onto the market anytime he wants and try to get a bigger, better deal. But it would not shock me at all if he played all 3 years with the Red Sox, because what are the odds that he's going to go out and get better than $40 million a year? I don't know. I think that the best time for him to opt out would potentially be after the second year. If he comes up and he has a really good year this next year, and then he has another year that's like really strong, it's like, okay, probably going back onto that market around age 33, that would be beneficial to him at that point, to be like, hey, I'm going to give up the $40 million AAV that I have right now to be able to go and get another $60-70 million attached to this. Maybe get another $100 million contract over another like 4 years with somebody else. Because if he comes in and he hits 25 home runs the next couple years and does really well, there's a team out there that potentially could want to do that. There might be a lot of teams that might want to do that because he might be aging like fine wine, which, is possible. Now, something else, I know 3 years, $40 million, or $40 million a year is kind of what we've been talking about. But this morning, which is really interesting, is Buster Olney said that there are a lot of deferrals attached to this, a lot. And so it's more like a 3-year, $90 million contract when it comes to deferrals. When it comes to the luxury tax, that's probably more so where it's going to be in terms of the actual luxury tax, which is absolutely massive in terms of being able to bring down that CBT threshold and prevent the Red Sox from either A, going over the tax entirely, or B, just preventing them from going over the second threshold, which really, that's when the penalties start. That's when you start like losing draft picks and stuff. And I know that the Red Sox are not going to probably do that unless they're like about to win the World Series and then they need to add more onto that. But it's not happening this year. I seriously, seriously doubt that's happening this year, probably even next year. But they are definitely going over the first threshold this year. So let's pop over to Red Sox payroll really quick. This is a guy on Twitter, does a really good job. He's a really good follow if you're a Red Sox fan. But he has all of the Red Sox payroll for the next like forever listed on this Word document. And he's projecting right now that Alex Bregman's unannounced deferred of $30 million. That's going to put the Red Sox about $5.5 million over the first luxury tax threshold, which I know a lot of fans, when they hear that right away, are just going to be absolutely tickled pink because we haven't been over the luxury tax threshold in a few years. And a lot of people were just like, when are they ever going to do this again? Are they really ever going to go back over the luxury tax again? And the answer was always yes. I think there was a lot of dramatization when it came to the Red Sox not spending money because they've spent money poorly. And that's a difference. The Red Sox have been cautious about spending money, but this is again one of those smart deals because even if Bregman stays for all 3 of these years, and say that the AAV comes out to around $30 or $33 million for Bregman, people were projecting him to get something in the range of like a $33 million a year salary for like 7 years at the beginning of this offseason. There were actual people thinking that it was going to be a $200 million contract, which in hindsight sounds kind of weird. But, you know, if you were talking about this in October, didn't sound that crazy. Didn't sound that crazy at the time. So for $120 million, the Red Sox got a great deal. Bregman is a very, very good player still. He's going to help the Red Sox in a lot of ways. And something that I have not talked about in this video at all yet, we talked about his defense. And I know some of you guys are like, well, his offense is declining. And, you know, there's some issues there that we are going to get into. We're going to get into all of this. But one of the worst things about the Boston Red Sox, the worst, is their defense. Their infield defense is the worst in baseball. And it has been 3 of the last 4 years. 3 of the last 4 years, the Red Sox have had the most errors in the American League. 3 of the last 4 years. That is crazy to me. And that is with the Red Sox having 2 Gold Glove finalists in the outfield last year, and they still had the most errors in the American League last year. They had more errors than the White Sox that lost 163 games last year. They lost 163 games, guys. And the Red Sox still had more errors than them. Like, I can't tell you how important it is to shore up that infield defense, especially when you have guys like Walker Buehler and Garrett Crochet that can come out and be stoppers for you. To have that defense is going to be so clutch, and Alex Bregman is going to be able to do that. And if you have Bregman and you have Story in the infield, you have a Cassis who's probably an average first baseman, it makes up for kind of the liability that Devers is probably going to be at third base. And, you know, maybe Devers can move off to DH a little bit and transition the next few years, kind of like I was mentioning before. Bregman can maybe slide over to third base for a couple innings a year, couple innings a week, maybe it's a couple games a week after some time. I don't think Devers really cares at the end of the day if he's a third baseman for the next 10 years. I really don't think so. I think this is very much blown out of proportion. I think he wants to stay at third base for the short term. But if you tell Devers, hey, we want to DH you a third of the time, and you slide Alex Bregman over there and you give Romy Gonzalez or David Hamilton or Christian Campbell or Vaughn Grissom some opportunities at second base, you're still getting a Gold Glove caliber Alex Bregman at third. And then you have these guys that are actually in the position they need to be at second base, and you have just a very good, solid defense in the infield to go along with your elite outfield defense, to go along with your bullpen that's projected to be elite, to go along with your starting rotation that's projected to be one of the better starting rotations in Major League Baseball. And this is all coming together with this idea that the Red Sox are one of the best teams in the American League that I've been talking about all off season. And even before Alex Bregman, I've been preaching that the Red Sox probably, even right now, are a playoff caliber team before Alex Bregman. But with Alex Bregman, it's hard to argue that they're not. There really aren't that many teams in the American League that scare me. There aren't. And like, let's take a look at this real quick. This is the now lineup that we're going to be possibly having. So this is from Ed Hand. He's another really good follow on Twitter. But this is the essential lineup at the moment. And I've got my own Word document. We'll kind of go into more of like this roster constraint a little bit more later. But the lineup of Jarren Duran, who put up 8.7 WAR last year, one of the best leadoff men in baseball, maybe the best leadoff man in baseball outside of, you know, I don't know if Bobby Witt Jr. is still leading off, but he's one of like the top 2 or 3 leadoff men in baseball. If Rafael Devers is batting second, that's where I want him batting. And he's one of the best hitters in the league. He's probably a top 10 hitter in all of Major League Baseball. I would say so when he's right. Then you have Alex Bregman batting third. I don't love Bregman's bat enough on paper to be a conventional number 3 hitter, but to balance out that lineup, if he's batting third, that's okay. And if you want to slide him into second and you move Devers to third, you can do that. It's just it's gonna mess with the lefty righty balance a little bit more. But Tristan Casas, if he's right batting fourth, Casas is gonna hit 30 home runs. He's gonna hit 30 home runs and he's gonna walk 90 times. My bold prediction last year for him was he was gonna hit 30 home runs and walk 100 times. I think he can do that. If he can get 100 walks in him, I mean that's possible. Maybe a little ambitious. I think I might be talking a little bit hard on that, but I think he could get 75, 80 walks pretty easily and hit 30 home runs. And I don't know where he's going to be in his batting average, but I think it's going to be better than like 250. I think he could bat like 270, 280. Trevor Story batting fifth. I'm okay with that. You know, he was our number 3 hitter until yesterday. And Trevor Story batting fifth, we don't know what we're going to get out of him, obviously. But if he comes in and he bats 250 and hits you 20 home runs and steals 20 bases out of the number 5 hole, I'm okay with that. Because Trevor Story, he's a solid bat. He might not be the best number 5 hitter in the league. You might not quake in fear with Trevor Story batting fifth, but he's not somebody to take lightly still. And he still has a little bit pop left in him. And he hasn't been healthy. This is going to be his first full healthy season. Pray to God it is, in a Red Sox uniform. And if he can do that, great. I'm fine with him batting number 5. Yoshida at DH, whatever. He can stay at DH for right now. I don't know how that's going to work out. In fact, the roster constraint, I'm kind of worried about Yoshida, but stick him at 6. That's fine. He might be batting 8th or 7th, but he's going to be in the 6 to 8 range. Connor Wong batting 7th. Again, Wong's probably going to be batting somewhere in the 6 to 8 range as well. Wong, I project a little bit of regression from him, but he had a great year last year. It's hard to deny that he didn't produce numbers. And so if he can do something similar this next year, Connor Wong is at least an average catcher. You got Wilyer Abreu in right field. Maybe my biggest breakout candidate on the Red Sox for this next year is if Wilyer Abreu gets 500 at-bats, I think he's going to hit 25 home runs. I think he could be our number 5 hitter, 6 hitter by the end of the year for sure. He was batting second most of last year. He's just not going to fit at the top of the lineup anymore if everybody's healthy. But if he's batting 6th, Wilyer Abreu, and he hits you 25 home runs this next year, would it shock anybody? I don't think so. Cedar Rafaela, elite defensive center fielder. His bat's probably not going to be where we want it to long term. But you look at it, and if he comes around and it hits you 20 home runs a year, he runs into it, he's never going to have a high on base percentage. It might not even hit 300 regularly. But if he hits you 20 home runs out of the 9 hole, he's got the pop to be able to do that for sure if you guys watch him. Like, his numbers haven't added up to it, obviously. He's definitely got the pop to be able to do it. So if he bats 230 with 20 home runs out of the 9 hole with elite defense, I would take that. That is still very productive. And then you got your bench, and this is the part that really starts to get interesting for me in terms of the roster construction, is what are you going to do with some of these guys? I mean, these are the 4 that are probably making the opening day roster. I mean, you could argue that Narvaez could be supplanted from Blake Sable here because he's also on the 40-man. And if it is Sable, it's because they want that left-right matchup with Connor Wong. But if it's Narvaez, it's because they need somebody to balance out Connor Wong's below-average defense, which that's being generous to Wong. He's got pretty bad defense as a catcher. So hopefully his bat can maintain, because in reality, Connor Wong's like one bad season away from being a backup catcher. Like, he was a good starting catcher last year, but you know, this situation with the catching is a little bit more tricky. But we're not talking about that right now. But then we got like Romy Gonzalez, David Hamilton, Rob Refsnyder. I think all of those guys are for sure making the roster. What happens here with Vaughn Grissom? Vaughn Grissom like deserves to be on a roster spot. And then you got guys like Nick Sogard, who I'm fine with him being at AAA to start the year. He's probably going to be up and down due to injury or whatever's going on. But like in reality, if this lineup comes out of spring training healthy, which it could, I mean, it's less likely to fall apart than some of like the pitching aspect of it. But if it comes out healthy, Vaughn Grissom's at AAA to start the year, which kind of sucks for him. Because if you have seen Vaughn Grissom, the dude is jacked now. Like, the guy actually gained 20 pounds this last offseason because he was sick last year with the flu. I don't know if you guys remember, he lost like 10 pounds from that. He's gained it all back and more. And I was already very hyped on him at the beginning of last season before he got injured, and then he was really sick with like pneumonia or something. He had like an actual like disease, like not good. And after he got back from that, he never regained his health. And so I'm really excited to see what Vaughn Grissom can do, because he's already performed at the big league level, guys. But again, you just look at this lineup construction though, because we're getting slightly off topic here. Alex Bregman though fixes so much in here, and it does a little bit on this, a devil's advocate portion of this. It blocks Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony. And I know that there's a lot of reports coming out right now saying, well, not really, it doesn't block them. They're not going to prevent them from coming up. It kind of blocks them. It does, a little bit. Like maybe you guys, if somebody gets hurt or like Rafaela could lose some playing time. But at the end of the day, none of these guys that are here are going to be at AAA for significant portions of the year. There really aren't any of these guys. Can you see Wilyer Abreu going back down to AAA? Not really. Unless the guy's batting 100 after the first month of the year, he's probably not going back down. Romy Gonzalez maybe could go back down, but he had a really nice year last year, and he's got more like pedigree than some of these other guys. And I think that Romy Gonzalez is a bench type player. Like you're not going to call up Christian Campbell to replace Romy Gonzalez and sit on the bench. Like that's just not going to happen. So like there's potential that there's some moves that are still going to be in here. And I don't know what's going to happen with Anthony and Campbell, but they both, I think, need to be on this major league roster within like the first 45 days of the season. And so there's some interesting stuff that I still think needs to happen here. I think the most glaring one is like if they can get rid of Masataka Yoshida, they're probably going to try. But in terms of like the present day lineup, you still don't know what you're going to get from Campbell and Anthony. So signing Bregman, who is an established big leaguer, a borderline still star in the league, I mean, I can't not be excited about it. And I think you guys all should be excited about this. And let's look at what Bregman specifically can provide to this team. And so not only does he hit 20, 25 home runs a season regularly, but look at how he hits this ball. Like this is a spray shot from 2024, overlapped over Fenway Park. Look at all of these doubles right here that would be home runs. Let's go back to 2023. Look at all of these singles, all of these doubles here that maybe could be home runs. 2022, all of this. He is a pull guy. And you know, when you pull the ball at Fenway Park and you're right-handed, things turn out pretty good. So I think that this is a perfect fit for the Red Sox. His batting run value in 2024, a lot of people point to this and they're like, there's concerns here. I think the biggest concern for me personally is probably the fact that his walk rate went from elite, basically his whole career, down to below average last year, which is weird. Like you don't really see that in hitters consistently. So something changed. But if he can get back to being somewhat closer to the guy that has a 12.7 walk rate and is one of the best in baseball, that's a crazy high walk rate, honestly. But if he can even get that back up to like 10%, I mean, I think you look at Bregman and you look at his career stats here. We'll go back over to him. I think it's possible that he could have the second most home runs in his career over this contract in terms of like a single season. Because the most he's had is 41. I can't see him hitting 41 again. A, that was a juice ball era, and B, he was 25 years old at the time. But it would not shock me if the guy hit like 33, 34 home runs one of these years. It wouldn't surprise me. I know that there's a lot of fear about him regressing, but he at the same time is still put up a 118 OPS plus this last year, 122 the year before, 134, 113. Like he has never had a noticeably above average season offensively at any point. And so the concerns are valid when it comes to Alex Bregman, but I don't feel that they're warranted to be that freaked out about for a 31-year-old player. You know, I'd be really worried again if we signed him to that 6-year deal and we're like, okay, there's going to be regression coming. There's totally going to be regression coming, and those last 3 years are probably not going to be great. But, you know, even if we have him for all 3 years, I don't think he's going to be like a 2-war guy every year. I think that we probably get at least another 4-war season out of him. And you know what? If he does regress a little bit, I'm okay with it because you kind of expect a little bit of that. But there's still upside on top of this. There's still the possibility that we could come back and do more. And another comparison that people have been making, and I really like this one that I've been reading about, is the acquisition of Mike Lowell when we traded for Josh Beckett. You guys remember Mike Lowell? Kind of a good player for the Red Sox. But when we acquired him, the guy was going into his age 32 season. And he came off a terrible year. People thought he was done. What did he do? He won a Gold Glove. and he had 8 home runs and a 658 OPS. And then he came in the next couple of years. The guy was fifth in the MVP 2 years later. He put up a 324 batting average. He had an 879 OPS, and he had 120 RBIs at his age 33 season. After he was almost done in the league when he was a very productive player for the Florida Marlins for multiple years in a row. And what did Alex Bregman do this last year? He did a lot better than that. And I'm not saying that he's going to age like Mike Lowell, because Mike Lowell was a great player for the Red Sox. He was just a great player in the league in general. Very, very underrated guy. But he's a defensive guy who was playing third base, came in and balled out for us. And that's kind of what I think Alex Bregman might do. Only he's going to be playing second base. He's not going to be playing third as much. Maybe he play a little bit of third. We talked about that earlier. But in terms of what Bregman potentially could be, I think that this batting average probably is what it is. It's probably going to be a 260, 270 guy, because that's pretty much all he's been this second half of his career so far. Like, he's not going to be this guy that's going to bat you close to 300. I just don't think that's him anymore. But if he gets you a 260, 270 batting average, and he hits you 25 to 30 home runs, even 20 to 30 home runs, I mean, that's what you're paying for, especially when he has this elite defense on top of it. So I'm thrilled about this deal. I think there's so much to be excited about. The Fangraphs projections for him too, if you look at him for this next year, they're a little bit more conservative when it comes to him. They think he's going to be somewhere in the range of 21 to 24 home runs. They think his WAR is going to be somewhere in the range of 3.1 to 4. Again, even if he gives you something in that range, it's still an upgrade over what the Red Sox have had defensively, absolutely. And it's still going to be an upgrade offensively for this team that did need a right-handed bat to replace Tyler O'Neill. And he's not a perfect offensive replacement for Tyler O'Neill because he had a very good year this last year. But I think he's going to do more for this team overall. And when you looked at maybe the biggest glaring need for this team outside of the fact they needed the bat, it was that infield defense, guys. I cannot undersell how bad this infield defense has been. And I think that is the least talked about thing when it comes to the Boston Red Sox. And they fixed it. They fixed their bat. They fixed their defense. They fixed their rotation. They fixed their bullpen. Craig Breslow, this was a master class of an offseason. And it was a slow burn to get here. There was a lot of times where people questioned it. I even questioned it at times, where I was a little bit worried about what we were actually doing because we were doing nothing. But if this offseason has proven anything, is we have to trust Craig Breslow because he obviously knows what he's doing. He's doing the right things with the money that's being provided to him, and he's doing contracts that make sense. A 3-year deal. We're not stuck with this guy as he's aging. We paid a little bit more for him right now, so we didn't have to pay for his aging, dying years of his career. And we'll figure out the Campbell and Anthony situation later. We will work with it because they're going to be up here. They're going to be up here. They're going to make an impact this season. Campbell and Anthony will make an impact this season. How they will do it, I'm not sure. There's going to be some more moves on top of this. But like this lineup, I'm not saying it's like I'm like dying to see this lineup, but it is a good lineup. This is still probably a top 10 lineup in baseball. Maybe like the 8th or 9th best lineup, but something in that range. And that's above average. It's an above average lineup. Look at this rotation. I'm very excited for this rotation. This rotation's going to be fun. And this bullpen, underrated. I mean, they're projected for the second best ERA plus in Major League Baseball right now. They are. And then we still have guys on top of it that are right around the corner, like Quinn Priester and Winkowski and Fitz and Dobbins and Weissart and Kelly and Bernardino. The depth in this rotation, in this bullpen, is crazy right now. I think the pitching is going to be maybe the best in the league. It honestly could challenge everybody but the Mariners in the American League for the best rotation, the best pitching staff overall. It's an exciting time to be a Red Sox fan. This is the most excited I've been in years. And I'm going to say it right now, I think the Red Sox can win the division. I think the Red Sox can win the division right now. I think the Yankees are a little overrated. Losing Juan Soto is going to really hurt, and the offensive pieces they've done to replace him. I think Bellinger's going to be pretty good. I don't know about Goldschmidt, but you can't replace Juan Soto. You really can't. And there are more holes in that Yankee team than I think that are readily apparent. And they are so reliant on Judge going out every year and being a top 3 player in the league. And if he comes in and just has, a down year and he's like the 15th best player in the league and maybe gets not a ton of MVP votes, like what happens if Judge comes out and he hits 35 home runs and he bats 260? That would shock me. But what would happen for that Yankee lineup if he's doing that and then you're not getting any other production behind it? Like that lineup's not as scary as you think it is. And it's just so reliant on their upper end guys. And these guys are all aging, man. They're all getting old. Stanton's getting older. DJ LeMahieu's still there for some reason. Garrett Cole's getting older. I don't know, guys. The Red Sox are young. The Red Sox are exciting. The Red Sox have a lot going for them. I think that they could win the division this next year. I think they could win the division. And if you win the division, you maybe can skip the first wild card round of the playoffs. And if you can skip the round, you're only 3 series away from winning the World Series. They could do it. The Red Sox could win the World Series this year. I don't know what else to say, guys. I hope you guys like this video. This was a lot of just garbled thoughts. I do stuff like this pretty often. I haven't been doing it lately for a couple reasons, so thank you guys for bearing with me on this. A, I was on vacation for like a week. B, I'm working on another big project. It's taking more time than I want, but that's partly because I've been on vacation, and then also, I don't know if you can tell, I've been really sick this last like week and a half. It's been hard to find time to even want to do something on this computer, but this was too good, guys. And we had to talk about it. So hopefully you enjoyed. I will be making more stuff like this soon. It's going to be an exciting year of Red Sox content, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.